Hey, what's going on guys? Jason here, and this is part 4 of the React Notes project series. And in this video, I'll be going over how to set up the add note component here. So we'll be adding some state and some other React hooks to it. So let's get into it. Okay, so we'll be going into the add note component that we created. And right here, what we'll be doing is we'll be importing a couple more things. So we'll be importing, let's see, use state, use context, use ref, and use effect. Okay, so then in our add note function here, we will then go ahead and do a use context. Oops, I'm sorry, I also need to import one more thing. So we'll be importing note context from context. All right. So now in here, we'll be importing, or we'll be passing in notes context, and we'll be destructuring out state and dispatch. Oops. Okay. And then we will pass use state, and we'll give this a initial state of an empty string. And from there, we'll get back, we'll call this value and set value. So then this will be our local state for this add component. So the initial state, so what we pass in here in the use state will be the initial state, and that will be this value. And we also get set value, which is what we'll use when we want to update the state in the add note component. Okay, so then next thing I'll do is I'll create another variable here. We'll call this ref, and we'll make use of useRef, and we are going to use this inside our, let's see, in the input. So then in the input, we can pass ref equal to curly braces and ref. And the reason I'm doing this is because we want a reference to it, because when we, let's see, when we reload the page here, or when we add a new note, we want to make sure we are focused on this input. So that's why I'm using the useRef. And the way we will actually make it actually focus on the input is we'll be in here. So we'll do UseEffect. And then in UseEffect, we will pass in a function. And for the second argument, we'll pass an empty array. So then when the when this component mounts, or when it renders, this useEffect will run, and it'll run whatever's inside this function. So when that runs, we want to take ref and then do .current.focus. All right. And the reason we are adding a array here as the second argument is because we only want this effect to run one time. So when the component renders, we only want this effect to run once. So that's why we are adding this empty array here. Okay, so then we have that. And then let's see here. So we got that, and let's go ahead and save this and take a look at what we have. So if we reload, as you can see, now it is actually being focused on the input, as opposed to before it is not. So that's working, so that works. And the next thing we'll do is we'll add a couple of methods. The first one will be handle change, And this will be the method that will run every time we type into the input. So handle change will take in an event. And then, and here we will, whenever we type into that input, we want to update the local state. So we'll do set value since we are updating that value. And that'll be event.target.value. That looks good. And the second method will be handle submit. So we'll do that. So we'll pass in event in here as well. And this method will run when we submit, or when we click on the add note button to submit our new note. So then in here we want to take event.prevent default. And then I also want to handle, we also want to handle when the input here, when somebody doesn't type in a note or it's empty and they click add note, we want to give them an alert. So to handle that, I'll do an if statement, and I'll do value.trim equals triple equals a string. And the reason I'm doing a trim is because if we have like a bunch of space here, we want to just trim that and make sure that we count that as an empty value. If we get that, we'll pass an alert. Cannot add a blank note. Cool. Else. Okay, so then else, if it is a valid note, we want to then dispatch. So we'll do a dispatch. Make use of our dispatch function here. Pass in the object, and for this we'll give it a type of add note. That is payload value. Okay, so then we have that, and then after that runs, we'll do set value. There we go. All right, cool. So, okay, so then when the user clicks add note, if it is a valid note, it's going to run this dispatch, which will go to our reducer, and it'll go to the case of add note, and the payload that we pass will be the value. And let's see here. So that looks good. All right. And after that runs, we'll just set the value, or set the input value to an empty string. Cool. So let's go into our JSX here and let's add in our form on submit. And we'll do handle submit. And then let's see, we need to add a few things in here. So we'll add our on change on the input. We'll do handle change. All right. And value for the input, we will go ahead and pass value. All right. So that looks good so far. All right. So then now we'll go into our reducer, and we need to set up a case for the add note. So we'll do case add note. Okay, and then so when we add a note, what we want to do is we want to, so I'll create a variable here. I'll call it new note. This will be our new note. It'll be an object. And the ID, we'll give it an ID. So we'll do UUID dot v4. And UUID is a library that I need to import, And basically all it does is it gives us a unique ID. So we'll do that. Then we'll do text. And remember, text will be what was in the input here. And that is going to be what we passed into our payload. So that's the value here. And remember, value is the local state. So if we go here, so text will then just be action.payload. Okay. All right. So I'll create another variable. I'll call it added notes. And this will be the new array of notes. So I'll just spread out the current state of notes, and then just add in the new note object like that. Cool. And then from there, we will go ahead and return an object, or return our new state. So our new state will be, we'll be spreading out the state here, and then we want to update our notes with the added notes variable. All right, that looks good. Okay, and I think we are set for that. So let's go back to the page here. So so we need to import that library. So you can just do an npm install --save UUID, and we'll just wait a little bit for it to import. Okay, so now that we have that imported, we also need to, let's see, we also need to import UUID from UUID. Okay, let's go back and see. All right, so it looks like everything looks like it's working correctly. So if we add a new note, let's do clean kitchen, and we'll click add note. Let's see, and I think we forgot to add a event.prevent default. So let's go back and see our add note. When we handle submit event, right, we did not spell this correctly. So it's not prevent, it's prevent default. All right, so let's try this again. Clean kitchen, and we'll add the note. There we go. That looks good. Let's look at our console here. Let's see, add note, state. All right, so if we look at our object, we have 4 notes with this ID that UUID provided, and the text clean kitchen. All right, so we have this add note.js, line 5, state is assigned a value but never used. Let's see, line 5. Right, state is assigned a value. So then I think for that, yeah, so basically we don't really need to worry about that since we're not using state. So I think we can just remove that for now. I think we should be good. I don't believe we need to use or grab any state for this component. I think that'll be for the edit note component, but yeah. Cool, so that looks good. I think, oh, let's also check if we add a blank note and we try to add that. Alert cannot add a blank note, cool. So that is also working correctly. All right, cool. So I think that's a good stopping point for the next video. I'll be going over how to set up the edit note, and it's pretty similar to this one, just with a few tweaks. So then if you guys enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more content like this, go ahead and subscribe. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a good day.